and also in feedback session. So let us start. Now I would like to request our panel member, firstly with Dr. Harry Charles sir, to start the discussion with our participants.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am very pleased to be part of this panel discussion, and I'm happy to share my thoughts in this panel. Let me start sharing, asking these questions to all of you that, for a moment, let us all reimagine ourselves as hardcore consumerists. So how has COVID-19 changed, transformed our behavior? And how this behavior has contributed to my own growth, my own change in attitude and behavior, how the industry is changing. I will also be talking about how India's job market is changing. What are all the changing paradigm of skills and capabilities which has emerged out of this COVID-19 scenario? And how do we adapt ourselves and become more saleable? These are the various thoughts I'll be sharing with you. And I hope and believe, that would give you the most needed excitement and insight into how we can progress ourselves as possible future employees of different companies. Okay, to start with, let us understand how COVID-19 is transforming our behavior, our consumer behavior. All of us are consumerists. Even before our birth, we start consume. We continue to consume till our death. In post our death, we are consuming one or the other. So how this COVID-19 pandemic has changed? It is changing our work, travel, the way we communicate, the way we shop, and more. But with which new habits are likely to stick permanently, we can point to certain behavioral changes and their implications for risk and protection. Pandemic has impacted virtually all aspects of our lives. Some developments have been sudden and involuntary, such as social distancing, wearing masks, stopping public transport, restrictions on travel, etc. For others, it has merely accelerated the adoption of behaviors already gaining traction, such as the digitalization of shopping, banking, and many more. So, are these changing patterns going to be temporary or permanent? Let us ask ourselves, has our behavior been temporary or permanent during this COVID situation? Will these changes in behavior last after COVID-19 subsides? Or will consumers' old habits die hard? Behavioral studies and past events can offer some solutions, some answers to these questions. All consumer behavior has strong location and time dependencies. It has certain cultural dependencies. So behavior can differ significantly from one location to the another, depending on cultures, geographies, depending upon how financially you are strong, what kind of a motivation do you have to adapt to technology, etc. The pandemic is making this dimension of consumer behavior more complex. For example, since physical movement is restricted, consumers are migrating into virtual worlds at an unprecedented rate and are exposed to newer influences. This could require us to go beyond traditional methods of modeling our behavior or So people more quickly adopt habits that do not significantly change existing routines. Today, consumers are settling into new patterns of behavior for considerable lengths of time in response to the multiple waves of this pandemic. This is fertile ground for new habit formation. For example, let me tell you, all of us, or our parents, our grandparents, our own colleagues, our own friends, our seniors would have worked in a co-located atmosphere, which means everybody coming, contributing, working, performing, earning salary in a single location. Whereas today it has become all distributed across the world, across the country. So people can work from anywhere, in any way, in any scenario, in any atmosphere, provided you have the most needed talents, skills, and capabilities. So today, consumers are settling into new patterns of behavior for considerable lengths of time in response to the multiple waves of this pandemic. This is, again, I am suggesting, is a fertile ground for a new habit formation. So new experiences need to offer significant incremental value for a change to become permanent. And poor experiences can result in a rapid reversal to past behavior. So some of the drop could be due to poor customer experience of online consultations. Conversely, demand for online shopping appears to be sustainable for the long term. The fear of catching an infection may fade once COVID-19 is over, but the significantly higher perceived convenience may make the behavior permanent. For example, before IT industry scenario and after IT industry scenario, if we can look at, people have become more comfortable, convenient to working from anywhere. This was not the behavior, before the IT industry was in place. Both IT and IT enabled industry today has allowed anybody with any kind of a qualification, with any kind of a background, to work from anywhere. For example, the e-commerce sector has responded rapidly to the challenge of creating positive experiences in response to the pandemic. So companies have invested in logistics, supply chain, and widened their product ranges. And this has significantly attracted large number of consumers. And a survey earlier this year found many of them were likely to continue to buy online for non-health reasons such as convenience, time savings, and wider product ranges. More than all of this, it is more a convenience. I don't have to go out. I don't have to travel. I don't have to spend extra. I may get a possibility of looking at variety and ranges at the comfort of my home. So this comfort of my home is providing a huge opportunity across the world and across the country. So how is consumer behavior changing? Increased digital adoption is changing consumer behavior. People shifting to digital platforms for day-to-day needs. Be it telemedicine, you go back to a digital adoption. Be it buying anything, you go there. Be it for any other consultation, today you have digital possibilities, platforms available. So people slowly, significantly try to shift themselves to digital platforms. So change in mobility patterns. So people start literally using the public transport. More remote working is possible, so less of travel is happening. Again, change in purchasing behavior. Move to a value-based purchasing and online shopping is happening today. So you go to a shop, you see anything and everything, you grab it and increase your cost is not the thing anymore. Today, you have a value-based purchasing, and so anybody from anywhere can purchase anything that they want. The other thing is increased awareness of health, wearing mask, increased hygiene, and healthy eating. This has come into the part and parcel of our younger generation today. So changes in interpersonal behavior also is increasingly seen in the community, in the society around us, which includes increased divorce, increased pet adoption, increased adoption of digital currency. So there are many such things which are happening and which will continue to happen. These trends are interconnected and overlapping. The pandemic has increased people's use of digital tools in life and business to stay connected in a world that is physically disconnected. Increased use of digital tools is blurring the lines between the work, lifestyle, and social interaction, and between domains like mobility, health, and finance. We expect this behavior not to be temporary, but to be permanent. We expect this to continue in the post-COVID-19 scenario also. So this is what I mean to say, that how the consumer behavior has changed. Yes, it has changed from a co-located attitude, approach, method of working, strategies to a distributed method of working, a distributed method of strategies, a distributed strategy to provide business, to take business, a distributed method of keeping people across and making them work and earning our livelihood. All this is possible. So how does this particular scenario has changed, and how does it help IT industry right now? No matter where you live in the world, COVID-19 is likely forcing changes to your everyday life. The same is true for business of all stripes, who have had to adjust on the fly as restrictions are put into place to slow the spread of the outbreak. In the process, much of the global economy has ground to a halt. Today, as of recent statistics, what we have is the country, India, is going through a deep down, lowest GDP in the past 40 years. That's a scenario that you are facing today. So the only thing that seems certain, though, is that IT industry will be profoundly changed by the crisis. Not only IT, I am also talking about IT-enabled industry, which includes also the retail industry, a huge set of food industry where food itself has become aggregation, food aggregators, travel aggregators. Every aggregator is today becoming changed. So it is forcing a wholesale rethinking of what is going to take to accommodate business technology needs as we move forward from the current situation. With that in mind, here are the few most important ways IT industry is likely to change as a result of COVID-19 crisis. So what are all these changes? Some 4 or 5, which we can all keep it in our mind. First thing is stress testing becomes routine in IT industry. So there is a higher possibility that those of you who are specializing yourself in IT or management skills, you can also update your skills with testing skills. So IT professionals and IT service providers have made sure to conduct regular stress testing of business systems deemed critical to daily operations. That's number one. Number two, moves to the cloud will accelerate. So far, we have been working through independent clients or independent servers. Today, we have a possibility to move to cloud-based systems. So before the coronavirus, global business had been gradually shifting computing workloads from on-premises hardware into the cloud. Earlier, it was a co-located contribution. Today, it is dissipated, distributed contribution. Anybody can work from anywhere from the world. Any talent, any skill can be utilized by any company from anywhere is a norm of the day today. So cloud becomes more and more important, and the use of cloud will continue to accelerate. Third point, businesses will pay for redundancy. For most enterprises, having redundant technology solutions has always been a core operating principle to maintain business continuity. So going forward, all kinds of businesses, both large or small, are be willing to pay for the kind of a redundancy that used to be reserved for enterprises. That should also fuel a boom in the IT sector for companies to develop network technologies to support their demand, driving the price down to a level where even small businesses can afford to adopt redundancy. The fourth one is flexibility will become a standard. So be it, moving or working out of one place, or moving from one technology to the other, moving from one location to the other, moving from one institution to the other, moving from one job to the other is going to be the norm of the day today. Post-COVID, post-adaptability, adoption of working from home, post-adoption of dissipated working, post-adoption of distributed working, let us all be prepared to accept even hourly contribution and pay. Let us all be willing to accept contract type of placements and jobs, which are going to be available on large scale. So we don't have to be worried about whether we will get a job, whether I will get a job in my location, whether I have to travel across. All these concerns need not be there for you people, because the world has opened wide its arm of accepting anything and everything. So businesses of all kinds have started to embrace things like flexible working schedules, remote working policies to provide a better employee experience. Finally, let me also tell you, automation technology will boom. Recent advances in artificial intelligence and robotic process automation have slowly started to work their way into business around. So you don't have to always depend upon the labor or the human potential to do certain type of work. This human potential, which is unimaginable, can be utilized in developing certain artificial systems, which can in turn contribute to the place where it has to be done on a co-located method. So the whole different IT environment, the changes to the IT landscape mentioned here won't be the only thing that will happen to the industry as a result of pandemic. They are just the most obvious outcomes that are easy to foresee. It is very likely that overall effects the current crisis will have on the IT industry will be even more far-reaching than anyone can now imagine, with long-term ramifications that nobody would expect. So how is going to be the industry's job in India's job scenario? So what is going to happen to the job scenario of all of us? We are part of an educational institution. We are pursuing our engineering, our management, our health, profession. All this, we are pursuing here. So how am I going to, what is going to be there in the pipeline for me? So remote offices, changing geography of work from home has the big change COVID brought to office routines across the world. You don't have to be worried that you will be leaving your parents away. You are the only child. You have to travel for the purpose of job. All those concerns can be out of your mind. Lockdowns showed that scope for accomplishing work remotely was more widespread and feasible than previously thought. And businesses have been quick to embrace the opportunity. The report notes that some of the largest firms in India, like TCS, Infosys, have said that they would continue with remote work after the pandemic also. But the report adds that vast majority of India's workforce of 460 million people employed in jobs that cannot be done remotely, think agriculture and retail trade. So just 5% of the workforce can work remotely 3 to 5 days a week with no loss of productivity, while additional 15% could do so for 1 or 2 days a week. That's what McKinsey says. So shopping at fingertips, stores out of sight. You don't have to have a huge space to build a huge retail outlet like the way, today Star Bazaar or many of these kind of companies are built. Today, it's going to be completely out of your sight. You can just use your mobile, your laptop, your iPad to order whatever you want at the price and convenience of your home. So once again, growth in online sales in India jumped twofold because of COVID-19. So people have accepted the method of, buying online. What it means for a job. So what, the current scenario says is that, you can imagine the way that, Abraham Maslow has interpreted the basic needs. In the same way, today I am going to put in front of you 5 different skills. 5 different skills. What has become the basic skill and what has become the most sought after skill? What is the basic skill? Yes, basic cognitive skill is very, very important for you. So higher cognitive skill can be much better for you. Social and emotional skill can be a balancer for you. Technology skill can be the skill which can probably crown you, give you the most needed atmosphere, yearnings, and the happiness that you are seeking. So please understand that the basic cognitive, higher cognitive skills are certainly needed for you, but at the same time, social and emotional skills and technology skills is going to be the future. All you have to concentrate, you already have certain basic cognitive skills, but what may be needed is technology skills and social and emotional skills to handle a community, a society from across the world. So in this scenario, what I am trying to say is that, let us be prepared with what is most needed by the industry. What can give me the kind of a job that I need to build my career, to build my growth, to ensure that, I continue to contribute something back to the community and society. So all these things you may keep in mind to ensure that your career, your progression is taken care. Now, to put you in brief, how did we do it in Ascent Telecom? How did Ascent Telecom face this pandemic? And how did we come out of it? How did we continue to do business as usual? Let me share with you some of my own experiences in Ascent Telecom. Ascent Telecom is a passive infrastructure industry. While there are other industries associated with telecom, the other is active telecom infrastructure. The third one is the service provider. When I say in simple terms, the passive infrastructure telecom industry means that we are involved in building towers and providing technologies to telecom operators. And who are this active telecom infra industries? Those people who provide you network-based telecom solutions. The third one is the operator people like Airtel, Aircel, RGO, all these kind of people who utilize both the active and the passive infrastructure to load their own BTS and pass on the signal. Today, if at all you and me are connected, it is because of the huge number of people who are in the field, who are helping us to get connected. So this is the kind of an industry that we are part of it. And so I think by my explanation, you would have all understood that it is an essential industry. And so the government has shown enough attention to this particular industry in terms of any situation that arises out of it, be it a pandemic, be it a natural disaster, be it anything like that. This industry needs to work. This industry needs to provide you the most needed network. So that's how, we have positioned ourselves. So we have made sure that, we have, in the beginning of last year, February itself, we started working towards this particular pandemic. And so we have prepared ourselves with the most needed technology. We have prepared ourselves that all the sanitization or the sanitary items are very much in place. We also made sure that all our employees are educated, are given all the knowledge as to how to manage in times of such a pandemic. At the end of the day, we made sure business continuity never stops because of this pandemic. So we have made sure that all our energy, strategy, everything is in place so that in spite of so many deaths across the country, this particular industry works without any problem and ensures year-on-year growth and ensures there is profitability year-on-year. So this is how we have done. And I am pleased to share some of the links that I have shared with the team here. I hope and believe, they will be able to, in the meantime, showcase, some of the activities that we have handled. And with that, I would like to say thank you so much for the opportunity given to me. And you are free to ask me any kind of questions which may be of interest to you, which may help you to probably improve your morale, improve your understanding of the industry. Thank you so much.
So,
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to request Dr. Prashanjit Dasgupta, Professor, Faculty of Management and Commerce, ICFA University, Tripura, to act as a moderator in the panel discussion.
so Dr. Harry, welcome once again. We have got a few queries, and as a part of the interaction, and you have very nicely elaborated your facts, your situations, and also the steps you took immediately on declaration of the pandemic in your organization. Now, thing is that today, and you have very nicely summarized, you have said that the business have to pay for redundancy. Definitely. And it is because for the redundancy, so many businesses have paid, have closed down their shutter. And definitely the world has become very small, and pandemic has really made it more smaller. Moreover, you have emphasized on two aspects, that is the social and emotional skills along with the technological skills, which is definitely the stepping matters which is going to create success for the upcoming young graduates in management and engineering. And now a few questions, just as an HR person, I'd like to know how you are keeping morale of your employees high, because you are the lifeline today. Because today you and me, you have very rightly said that we are interacting and we are able to listen from you only because of you people's endeavor, telecom, has created a amazing job for the whole country, that today we are dependent on telecom everything for teaching our students from, also meeting with our relatives. So everything is today, telecom is our lifeline. So in this, now the thing is that, and your employees, they are going out when the entire world is remaining indoor. And there is always an apprehension people have got in their mind. So how you are keeping morale of your employees high? This is a very big
Thank you,
question.
Dr. Prasenjit. I would be happy to share these thoughts that, we have to believe and we should be convinced, and it should be a management philosophy that employees, that people are your assets. The moment you get convinced, or the moment that it is your way of life or it is your philosophy, you will start looking into the health and welfare of the people. The health and safety of the employees during this pandemic has become a paramount important activity for the organization. The more you ensure the health and safety of the people, the more they are free to come out of their home and attend to their work. As I said, out of the, let us say 100 people working in this industry, 75% of them are in the field. They are not based out of any offices. So they are in the field. When they are working out of their field, you need to give them 100% attention for the kind of a earnings they have, for the kind of a health and safety environment they have, for the kind of a benefits they have. So the moment you provide a kind of a sense of belonging to all these people, then automatically they will volunteer to come out and ensure that your business runs as usual. So what we do is we ensure that, first of all, that the health and safety of employees are 100% taken care. We have ensured that vaccination is given to all the employees and their family members. We have provided them with a COVID insurance in case of any individual who has been infected by COVID to go through a complete treatment free of cost. We have made sure that we provide them with a risk allowance, because they are going out of their home to meet any business exigencies. They have to be provided some extra financial benefit. So we provide them with a COVID allowance or risk allowance. We make sure they are also getting their salary in advance, because of various reasons. Any employee may have, or their parents may have lost their income, or they may have lost their parents. So what in case any such thing happens? So what we do is we provide them salary in advance. We also make sure in case of any eventuality, any employee or their dependents die, we make sure we provide them with the immediate financial aid to cater to all related expenses. We provide them with every bit of it that is possible to make them comfortable so that they can run around and concentrate on their business. We take care of them and they in turn take care of us. That's how we have progressed, little by little, to make sure that this industry feels very much comfortable to go out and do its business. And out of the 3,000 employees that I have, today I have got very few people who are in the hospital, maybe one or two. That much of a care and concern has been shown to my team members. So to answer your question that, how do you manage remotely placed employees, make them acceptable to your logic, your philosophy, your method of working, and how do you keep them motivated? Absolutely. The moment you show your concern, make your company's way of life to take care of people, and the people will take care of your business.
That's great. That's great, Dr. Hari. Now the thing is that you have got your employees who are remotely placed. in different parts of the country. And in this pandemic, particularly when work from home is going on, how you measure their performance? Because measurement of performance in the remote location, virtual mode, so it is something a bit difficult. So how you are doing that?
I think, all of you must be teaching balanced scorecard method.
Yes, we do that.
Yes. So what we do is, instead of balanced scorecard method, we use effort estimation method, or we use a combination of both, where there are clear-cut KRAs, KPIs associated with quantitative numbers. In all such cases, what we do is we use a balanced scorecard method and a process of effort estimation to ensure everybody is progressing towards achieving their KRA, KPIs on targets. So everybody in the beginning of the year is assigned with certain KRAs, KPIs, accountabilities, and responsibilities. These KRAs, KPIs are accountability and responsibility is brought into certain key process indicators, or you call them effort estimation. A square plus B square is equal to A plus B whole square. I do this, I do that, and at the end of the day, I achieve the following thing. Is the logic that we follow, whether you are operating out of Bangalore, or you are operating out of Gurgaon, or you are operating out of Tripura. At the end of the day, for me, it is the number which drives me towards a target, towards an achievement. That's what we follow.
That's very excellent. That's excellent methodology what we have adapted in this COVID situation, particularly when monitoring the performance of the individuals is quite difficult because of the so much of inhibitions, so much of restrictions. And one more thing that I would like to just know, what are the business plans you have got in the post-pandemic era? And what form of skills? Of course, you have mentioned about the cognitive skills and emotional intelligence, and as well as the social networking capability, building up of the participants, of the students, and this you have said. But still, if you can narrate what you are thinking in the post-pandemic era, and how is that you suggest that the engineering and the management graduates, they would prepare themselves?
Dr. Prasenjit, let me put it in simple language, which can be understood by anyone and everyone, that, the process of learning and education happens. One is directly, second is remotely. Third is today, the gaming methodology is also being used to inculcate certain learning methodologies or learning behaviors in people. Today, we have simulated training, which our organization has been using for the past 5 years. So any particular skill that you want, you could always train these people through a method of convenience. So through that, they can learn and then probably acquire enough skills and capabilities. Now, for people to acquire these skills, which I spoke about, one is the technology skill, second, social and emotional skill. There should be a program, or the people should be trained to do these kind of skill development as part of their curriculum, or as part of their academic year. So, provided all these things are available, I am pretty sure you will be able to build a great employee capabilities, which will be most needed by the industry as they come out of their respective degree or, academic period.
Oh, that's great. And in fact, I've seen the link you have shared. You have initiated so many very good protocols, and also have made a total awareness. So I would just like to request our host if he can display those PPTs, those videos, if it is possible from his end, or otherwise just will can continue with our conversation.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
creating a COVID barriers group, our core group to manage people and business during this pandemic scenario is very important, and we have been doing it. Identify their core responsibility. How do we resume work, post lockdown? Basic responsibility they should handle for themselves. Dr. Sujai, you can go ahead with the other video
Okay,
with the
sir.
voice. Yeah, please.
That is
Thank you.
excellent, Dr. Harry. In fact, definitely very motivating for all of us. And now the thing is that, again, what I feel, you see, if flood happens, lot of misery happens to the people, but again, the flood leaves the alluvial soil, and over which again on the next year, the bumper crops happen. So similarly, in pandemic, yes, many people have lost their jobs. Many people have suffered, is suffering still. But again, it is expected that the pandemic is going to last perhaps till the beginning of the next year, max to max. Then thereafter, do you have any plan, or do you feel anything that the telecom sector is going to take up further major expansion in the country? And also that because the telecom, which is the lifeline of today, will they be able to retain this lifeline situation, and will be expanding further in further operations? Can you give any intake on that?
Sure, sir. Communication industry is going to be the future. It is going to be the future. Yesterday we were in 2G, we moved to 3G, 4G, now 5G within the country itself. So there has been a continuous development, continuous value add to this particular industry, and continuous growth to this industry. The very fact, not even one person have we moved out during the past 1.5, 2 years of pandemic, or rather, we have added more people to our organization, is a proof that this industry is here to stay and will continue with all its vigor and valor. That's the scenario that this industry is going to have. The progression in technology, in communication, is going to be the guiding light, is going to be the torch bearer of the business tomorrow, of the day-to-day living tomorrow. So when that is the fact, let us not have any concern or any doubt that this industry is not going to stay, or the employees who are going to be placed within this industry are going to have any trouble. So far, you have the required skill and capability. Sky is the limit for you to grow. So I am happy to say that I am part of this industry for the past 9 years. Earlier, I was the director HR of a software industry. I moved to this industry for the past 9 years, and I am here, and I will continue to be here. That's what I would like to say.